the Republican Party and how they were kind of, fighting each other on stage. And I'm like, don't you think that's bound to hurt the Republican Party come the main election? And, Donald Trump is saying it's bound to, if there are clips out there of, one Republican candidate calling another a dummy, that's going to help the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this point now, anyone who Trump called a dummy, well, it doesn't matter because Trump is the candidate.
Right.
So
now it's on him to avoid going and picking one of those people as his VP, because then it makes him look like the hypocrite we've seen other people look like throughout this campaign.
But every single person who has run for president thus far has probably said something negative about Donald Trump at some point while campaigning. Probably everyone except, I don't know, Ben Carson. I don't think Ben Carson ever probably directly attacked Donald Trump. But at the same time, Carson's not going to be the VP.
No way. Yeah, all right. Jonathan Bernstein of BloombergView.com wrote this in October. Nothing so far tells us that Trump has any serious chance of being the Republican nominee. Oops.
What else is there?
Nate Silver. He successfully predicted the outcomes in 49 of the 50 states of the 2008 U.S. presidential election, wrote in August. Our emphatic prediction is simply that Trump will not win the nomination. It's not even clear that he's trying to do so.
Well, that guy was wrong.
I know. Well, also think about there were a ton of polls that said that there's no way he could beat Hillary, and now a lot of polls are coming out saying he can. So
Trump could be our next president,
guys. Think of Karl Rove too. Remember during that election, and it was late at night, and Karl Rove was just refusing to give it to President Obama. He was like, no, we've seen this in the past, and it was so embarrassing for... All right, Bob Hepburn of thestar.com wrote in January, as has happened in every other race, the field will cascade around one or two candidates more favorable to the wider Republican electorate that wants to capture the White House, not make a statement. By then, Trump will be history.
Didn't happen.
RedState.com wrote, a cruise challenge to Trump delegates, on the other hand, is nearly guaranteed to carry the day. And these are RedState.com, and Coulter appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher in June and was laughed at by panelists and audience members when she said the Republican candidate that had the best chance of winning the general election was Trump. Oh, yeah.
So those panelists and audience members were wrong. She's been on the Trump train for a while.
And she says she was here.
Right.
She talked to Troy and I. She says that she started his path of going after immigration. And if you recall, before the campaign even started, the tone was, we need the Hispanic vote. We need to go out and court the Hispanic vote. And that's why they wanted Marco Rubio to be the face of this campaign. And that's why, they thought that somebody like Jeb Bush could also explore in that world because of his beautiful wife. We saw him on the campaign trail speaking
He's so much
Spanish
taller
fluent.
than her.
Yeah. We saw him on the campaign trail, though, speaking Spanish fluently. The tone before this election was, we need to cater to this audience.
Right.
We need them. And Donald Trump comes out of nowhere and is like, I want to deport everyone that is not legally here. And then the other candidates said, who is this guy who's trying to create a rift within the country? They saw how powerful the message was. I've even heard Ted Cruz on the campaign trail say we need to build a wall.
Yeah, he did mention that. You're right. I mean, it is interesting, though, how they did at one point want to court this specific demographic. I mean, you think about it. Think about a majority of the Latino people in this country. If you're going to look at it strategically, most of them are probably Catholic, so they have very conservative social views, which would make sense then for the Republican candidates to sort of court them. But if there's this divide where maybe they're a bit more liberal with something like immigration, you're right, it's created this divide.
Right. And Coulter's point was, she gave Donald Trump a copy of Adios America forever ago. They've been friends for a very long time, but he took this copy of Adios America and really made her book his message and how he was shot onto the scene. So she says, you're welcome. Everybody can thank me. I am the reason that this is the tone of this election. And she is so vocal about him on social media. Even if you don't like her, there is comedy within that social media activity. Appearing on the same episode of Real Time with Bill Maher in June, Matt Lewis, a senior editor for the Daily Caller, said he thought Marco Rubio would be the Republican candidate because of his charisma and freshness. I think a lot of people did.
Oh, yeah. I remember last year when I would talk politics with Ron last summer, Ron would always talk about Marco Rubio being the candidate most appealing to the Republican Party. The Republican Party's Obama.
Right.
I think a lot of people were saying
He compared to JFK a lot because he was young and handsome and just spoke so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seth Abramson of the Huffington Post wrote in April that John Kasich would win the GOP nomination. The writing on the wall in the Republican Party, John Kasich will be the party's nominee in 2016 with Marco Rubio as his running mate.
Well, that's not happening.
Yeah, just...
Well, I mean, because that's the thing. If there was a contested convention, then it could have been possible that Kasich would be the nominee. But after yesterday, after everyone coming out and saying Trump's the presumptive nominee, I mean, what is Kasich supposed to do?
Right.
It's just so weird.
It would look silly.
It's so weird, though. He didn't want to wait another day.
Well,
wait for another primary. It must be funding. It's got to be funding.
I know, because if you look at who could have really continued to go funding wise, it probably was Jeb and Rubio, who have those brands of being like the just likable dynasty as far as Jeb is concerned, but and they pulled out so much earlier.
Yeah.
Weird. All right. Donald Trump is going to lose because he is crazy. Jonathan Chait of New York Magazine wrote last August.
That's his home state's magazine.
Yeah, historians looking back will peg the beginning of the end of the Trump show to his New Hampshire moment last week. Ariana Huffington wrote in September, I wonder what moment that was, New Hampshire. There have been so many crazy moments. I can't even go New Hampshire. That's when he pulled the belt up and the belt down and the belt up and the belt down. George W. Bush's advisor Karl Rove said on MSNBC in November that he didn't believe Trump would win the nomination. Instead, he felt Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, or Marco Rubio had a better shot.
None of whom are options.
No.
Or have been options in at least over a month.
Right. Donald Trump is not going to be the best president of the United States, Ben White of CNBC said in July. This reporter is already on record pledging to eat a bag of rusty nails if the real estate tycoon with the high hair manages to snag the GOP nomination, much less takes down likely Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton next fall.
Hold on. Has anyone sent a bag of rusty nails to Ben White of CNBC? Because someone needs to start tweeting him. Kinsey, I'm putting you on this. Someone must have brought up this bag of nails with him now, because the fact that he said that, we have information today that confirms Trump is the GOP candidate. Where is that bag of nails, guys?
Ben White. Morning Money Ben. Primetime slot for sure. Okay, let's see.
He's the Politico chief economic correspondent and Morning Money columnist. CNBC contributed.
President George W. Bush does not plan to participate in or comment on the 2016 presidential race, spokesperson says. That's what I'm saying. If you don't agree with it, lay low.
Right. Don't go against it.
Right. Trump.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, was the thing they always taught you growing up, right?
It's true. All right. We're reading Ben White's Twitter feed right now. Also, Trump admits peddling conspiracy theory, even he didn't believe about Ted Cruz's father and Kennedy assassination. His supporters won't care. Well, congratulations on your 7 retweets, Ben.
My guess is that Ben White is definitely the part of the Never Trump group.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is there any mention of the bag of nails he's supposed to eat?
I don't know if I can read any more of this.
I just want to know if he has acknowledged the bag of nails. And if he hasn't, Kinsey, somebody needs to remind him that he said that.
You took an oath.
Somebody needs to, one of you viewers out there, or one of us, I don't know, somebody's got to take that quote.
It's Morning Money Ben. Tell Morning Money Ben that we haven't forgotten.
This quote.
Donald Trump is not going to be the next president of the United States.
Quote.
This reporter is already on record pledging to eat a bag of rusty nails if the real estate tycoon with the high hair manages to snag the GOP nomination, much less takes down likely Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton next fall. This is what I don't like about
Bag of rusty nails.
This is what I don't like about our industry, though. Like, sometimes they just want to be the nastiest and meanest, and it's their sense of humor, like what we're talking about with the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's like you don't always have to be the nastiest and the meanest.
I'll admit that I probably tweeted something slightly mean yesterday, but who cares?
Well, you're
It was a joke.
Right. And what did you say?
I said maybe Ted Cruz lost because his supporters couldn't find Lucifer in the flesh on the ballot.
Right, that wasn't you, though. You were quoting John Boehner, and
That's
that was
true.
a clever connection of topical stories, okay?
Thank you.
Weekly Standard editor Bill Kristol did not believe Trump would clinch the nomination. He told radio host Laura Ingraham that Trump would bring less change to Washington than Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, or Chris Christie, not more.
Well, none of those people are options. Ted Cruz, not an option. Marco Rubio, not an option. Chris Christie, not an option. Well,
But
maybe.
perhaps a VP.
Maybe.
But perhaps a VP.
Good point.
Daryl Paulson of FloridaPolitics.com wrote, "So why will Trump not win the Republican nomination? Because he will either suffer a Howard Dean-like fall, or because his support is concentrated among people who are not Republicans and people who are less likely to vote." Who are these people? How did you...
Well, I'm just saying, it's just interesting because I'll be honest, in the beginning, people did not expect Donald Trump to do as well as he did. If we go back and look at, our political analysis through the summer into the fall. In the beginning, I still remember sitting up here with Ron and talking about Donald Trump announcing his candidacy. We were wondering if he'd even make the top 10 on the stage for the first debate.
Right.
And then he would, he did make it onto the stage. And then we slowly saw his numbers climb and climb. Then it went into double digits. Then it was like neck and neck with Jeb, like 12, 13%. Then he hit 20%, and we were all shocked, like, oh my God, he has 20%. And that's huge when there's still 17 candidates in the mix. And then it went up to 30. And Donald Trump has not lost his footing. I mean, it doesn't matter if he says something offensive. His supporters support him, and I think that over the course of the last few months, there are people that were against Trump that have come around.
Right.
Not just within the GOP, but I mean just voters in general.
Yeah. Well, did you say on air to me that you were surprised that Trump had taken out 16 people? That it, like, can you imagine? I thought you said to me earlier, and I don't remember if it was on air or not, but you were like, he's taken out 16 GOP candidates, and now he just has 2 Democratic candidates left. I mean, shouldn't there be some concern on their side? They laugh. They think it's a huge joke. They think that they laugh. They think it's a huge joke, and they don't think it's. That's probably their strategy. Like, we're not even going to acknowledge that. And if we don't acknowledge it, then our party won't give it any
there were
thought either.
17 people running, 16 of whom have now suspended their campaigns. It's interesting because in the beginning we were talking about how many Republicans there were in the race and how few Democrats there were, and we were all kind of focused on this Republican race. Now there are more Democratic candidates than Republican candidates. There's still 2 Democrats left in the mix. There were originally 5. Now we're down to 2. There were 17 Republicans. Now we're down to 1. I mean...
And I hate to get weird, but I miss Martin O'Malley.
Martin O'Malley seemed like a really nice guy. Maybe he'll be a VP. I don't know.
And it was smart of him. The one moment he had where I was like, "You've got some skill," is when he did a press conference in front of a Trump building. And that was the only way anyone cared. That was the only way he.
Poor
had
Martin O'Malley.
David Brooks of the New York Times assured the world the Republican nominee would be also. David Brooks of the New York Times assured the world the Republican nominee would be also ran Marco Rubio.
It's going to be Rubio. I'm telling you, it's going to be Rubio. Well, David Brooks of the New York Times, very legit publication, was wrong. We got a tweet from Minkler Thomas saying that Rand Paul should be Donald Trump's vice president.
Well, but I also just got this tweet from Griff saying that he doesn't want Christie to be the vice president, attorney general, probably too close to Trump in regards to attitude.
Needs balance.
Needs a balance.
That's smart.
But Rand Paul is too close to Trump. They both have
I don't think it's
attitudes.
going to be Rand Paul.
I don't think
know.
it. I
No
don't think
offense
so.
to
I don't think so either.
our
But
last
I do
tweeter.
think that they are
Minkler.
very similar in attitude. They are like.
So you think that Trump needs someone a little bit more tame?
Yes. Well,
Jeb would never do it.
Oh no, that's left. Jeff doesn't have to work for the rest of his life. He wouldn't want to put up with that.
I know. Did you notice that he made a low energy reference yesterday?
No.
Oh, I don't know if it was during his. I don't think it was during his speech yesterday in New York, but sometime yesterday or the day before, I swear I was carrying a Trump event where he made a low energy reference.
Oh,
The
man.
throwback to the early days of Trump rallies.
Oh, we miss low energy, Jeb. Jacob Weisberg of Slate wrote in April, the best case scenario for the GOP would be Trump facing facts and backing out of the primary before the Cleveland convention in mid-July. Do you think any of these people are embarrassed or
Well, I don't know. I'm still waiting to see if the guy at CNBC is going to eat a bag of nails.
rusty?
Rusty nails. Not even clean nails. Not even new nails. Rusty nails.
Stephen Collinson of CNN wrote, scoffed. I don't think that people are. I don't think they have editors that check that radar.
There are some typos over here, grammatical errors.
Yeah,
but
we're having some severe typo issues here. Scoffed at the possibility of Trump and Sarah Palin. Oh gosh, it cannot.
He's not gonna pick Sarah Palin. McCain.
Do not go down that road.
It's not gonna happen. He's not going to.
Scoffed at the possibility of Trump and Sarah Palin running in 2016. The idea that they're both seriously searching their souls and considering a run for the White House doesn't pass the smell test.
Okay, Sarah Palin, not going to happen. John McCain, I've said it before, I'll say it again. John McCain would have been the president in 2008 had he picked a different vice president. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, I did feel like there was, his campaign it was very low energy. His campaign...
But campaigns were low energy back in the day.
It was very Bernie Sanders, though. The way he was just the older candidate. There was no excitement. Well, no. I take it all back. Because Bernie Sanders has a huge amount of youth. Bernie Sanders has a lot of excitement. He has a lot of guerrilla marketing, a lot of grassroots. John McCain was just what was expected and accepted.
But I think most of America would have gone with John McCain because it was a face they knew, a name they knew.
Yeah.
Had he picked a different VP, Sarah
But
Palin.
she did add an element of excitement.
This is true.
PR-wise.
People tune into SNL every week.
Yeah.
I will say that.
PR-wise, Brian P. Mangan of TheRedZone.com wrote that Trump had already peaked way back in August 2015. Just about everyone who is willing to support Donald Trump already does, he stated. Charles Krauthammer said in August 2015, probably on Fox News, that Trump had collapsed in his most recent debate at the time. His attitude's totally changed. I think it'll be interesting to see him on a debate stage with Clinton.
Right.
Jonah Goldberg of the Los Angeles Times wrote in July 2015, the reason Trump's demise is also predictable is that personality eventually shines through.
Yeah, but people like him for his personality.
They love him for his personality. Nate Cohn of the New York Times wrote in July 2015, Donald Trump's surge in the polls has followed the classic pattern of a media-driven surge. Now it will most likely follow the classic pattern of a party-backed decline. They tried. They did not succeed. Maybe though that is the marriage of social media and mainstream media.
It's true. I mean, you have to look at 2008. That was just, Twitter was barely out. You know, not everyone was on Twitter. I didn't join Twitter until February 2009 because of Ashton Kutcher, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? We didn't have Instagram. Facebook, I mean, a lot of people were still on MySpace. I was on Facebook, but not everyone was there yet.
I love MySpace.
It was a different sort of vibe in terms of social media and the role that it played during the last election where, you know, a new president had to be chosen.
Right.
Then 2012, you know, social media is very, you know, influential, but, you know, oftentimes the incumbent wins.
Uh-huh.
You know, it happened with Clinton, it happened with Bush, it happened with Obama. And so we didn't notice it as much. And now it's the first election where social media is just, it's taken on a whole nother level. I mean, you have
He
everything.
He doesn't even have to hold a rally. He sends one tweet and he gets more reaction and is seen by more eyeballs and is picked up by every major
You're so
news
right.
outlet with one tweet. He doesn't even have to stand in.
He doesn't have to spend the money on a rally or anything. You're
personally
absolutely right.
funding his campaign, by the way.
Which, although he has come out and said now that he's the nominee, that he will accept small donations here and there, but he never wants to be controlled by anyone.
He never wants to have $30,000 dinners at George Clooney's house. A plate. Sarah Fagan of CNBC said in September 2015, "We will look back at last night's debate and see it as the beginning of the end of Donald Trump's grip atop the GOP field."
Sorry, Sarah, that didn't happen.
This is amazing.
I know. Bush.
Jeb Bush said on ABC's This Week in December, "Donald Trump is not going to get the nomination. I have enough confidence in early GOP primary voters." See, I hate that picture of him that they used right there, though. That was them. That was their own slam. You know? Keith Olbermann. Oh, yeah. Keith Olbermann moved out of Donald Trump's building because he was so...
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Appeared on The View in March and said Trump was unlikely to get elected. "I don't think he has a reasonable chance of being elected at this point. From what I'm hearing, I don't even think he's going to get the nomination."
I honestly think that this, these allegations of collusions really hurt the Republican Party, hurt Cruz, hurt Kasich. I actually think that Cruz would have had more support had they not conspired. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because people were bothered by that, and I really think that people felt bad for Trump in a way, even if they didn't like Trump.
Exactly, because it's just like, let what's going to happen. Don't try to be sneaky about it, and don't try to force something.
Right.
You know, Larry Sabato, head of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia, wrote in August, "If Trump is nominated, then everything we think we know about presidential nominations is wrong." Now, maybe that's right. Maybe that's
maybe that's true, Larry.
Yeah, maybe Larry's not so bad. All right, so I think that's it, and you have to leave anyway.
I do, but I think there are a lot of viewers who may not have seen John Kasich's speech that he gave just a couple hours ago, officially announcing that he was suspending his campaign. So if you want to go and show them that,
is that true? No,
I don't know.
Newt Gingrich for VP, says D. D, did you get our shout out earlier? We love you. Newt Gingrich for VP, brilliant, knows how to get around Congress, the man behind Clinton's budget and economy.
Right.
That's a good point. Okay, I'm gonna go to Kasich. Don't leave.
I'm not leaving. I still have to be here for 5 minutes. I get paid to be here for 5 more minutes.
So we're gonna go.
But I'm with you guys all the time, 24/7 on Twitter.
Samia, Box 10, at Samia Khan. I'm going to take you now to John Kasich's speech. You can hear Samia and I quietly crying in the background.
It's really emotional, guys.
But we were sad for him.